Old Fashioned Football on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play Underdogs Pick'em for a chance to win 100 times your money. Promo code OFFSGPN at UnderdogFantasy.com for a 100% deposit match. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Enter the free Daytona 500 contest for a chance to win $100 cash and a $100 SGPN gift card at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona.
Hey, what's up? This is Sam Acho, and you're listening to Old Fashioned Football.
Old Fashioned Football.
Make this deal right now, you pancake eating mother.
All right, deal.
Old Fashioned Football.
Welcome to Old Fashioned Football. If you're wondering who you're listening to, this is JMark. You can find me on the X at JMark Football. And if you're wondering who us is, that's Old Fashioned FB. And who's us? Well, before I keep going, I got to introduce you to my co-host on the pod and in life. You can find her on the X at the Mark Mir. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Justin.
Yeah.
It's been quite a week.
Has it been quite a week?
It has been.
Already?
Well, it's Thursday.
I guess it is Thursday. This is no longer the early show, I guess. The Super Bowl is over. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's been a long time since we've talked fantasy football. And I was like, why? But it's because we talked Super Bowl last week. So It's only been 2 weeks, but still feels like a long time, doesn't it?
It does.
Does. It does. And what'd you think of the Super Bowl?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was an intense finish because it was up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
for sure.
I did like that part.
Agreed.
I don't know. I really thought it was going to go into the double overtime. And then my mom she just kept saying over and over, if it goes into double overtime, I will never watch football again. I will never watch football again because of that tweet that got leaked.
Right. Yeah. That it was going to go in double overtime.
Yes.
I did hear that Vegas lost their behinds off of that because so many people saw that and they bet the game to go into overtime. Mm-hmm. Because naturally, I mean, if you think it's scripted or think anything about any conspiracies, you're going to bet that.
I don't know how any of that could have been scripted, though. Those players are not going to.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Brian Scott checking in. 2 legends.
Hey,
Brian Scott is the legend. We got to get that jersey framed. I have the frame.
And put it up behind us.
Put behind us. Yes.
Your jersey's literally over here.
It's right there.
Our frame is over here, and we are just slacking.
Yeah, Brian, I look at it for inspiration while we're doing the pod. If it's behind me, I can't do that. Let's talk a little bit about whiskey.
We're done. We're just done with Super Bowl.
Oh,
no more thoughts.
Did you have more Super Bowl thoughts to add?
No, we're good.
We're good, apparently.
We're good.
No, it was a good game, though.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot to check our final finishing in the
the FFPC.
Yeah,
because I was supposed to win money off of that.
Yeah, I think you probably
I need to know where my final standing was. It's going to be the same because everybody had the same, like, what was I, 1,300?
Something.
I'll get my money back is what I was going to get out of that contest.
But towards the end there, everybody
had the same players. So first place had the same players. Yes. In for that Super Bowl that I had. So I knew my ranking wasn't going to change.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I was going to finish right where I was.
Yeah, agreed. Let's talk a little whiskey, though.
Did your ranking go down?
No, it wouldn't change either. I had the same 2 people as everybody else. Thank you very much. Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. It's who we all had.
We should have had an in-house bet on that so that I won all of them.
Yeah, you
I
beat me
beat
in all of
you
them.
in all of them. So
Yeah.
it's glorious.
Glorious. I want to highlight the whiskey a little bit because we had our first brand educator. So not a
Yes.
distiller, not a founder, a brand educator, Alex Elrod on from Balcones.
He educated us.
Oh my gosh, his knowledge was
I've learned so much from that.
Yeah.
I feel like I am saying that every time we have a guest on the
we
show.
do learn every
But I
time.
love learning from our guests.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
but no, the Balcones whiskey it's really good stuff. And I swear it is so different than your Tennessee and your Kentucky. I really do feel
100%.
like you're tasting Texas.
Yeah, a little taste of Texas as you dubbed it. But no, you're right on there. Like it's way different than other things we have had. It's just he described the bourbon as they made it through a single malt lens because they're single malt fans and Scotch fans. So they knew it was going to be different. And then the rye is also different because of the Texas grain they use. So go check that out. Just the science and just everything behind it, the Texas climate, all that was really interesting to me. And we can't say we just got a little package in the mail, and I can't say what it is yet.
It was a surprise.
It was
quite a surprise. It's top secret, but it's gonna be exciting. We're gonna have it's leading to we already saw another guest coming onto the show, but a return
guest. But it's hush hush until April because it can't be found anywhere until then. So we also we got some fun stuff coming up in April as well that we'll talk about in a little bit. But Nick is checking in the chat and he has a question. Because of the new coaching changes to the Falcons, will my Pitt's passion be coming back?
Can we just retire that permanently? I don't need to go through that again.
You know how many things I've seen about him being traded to the Bears, and I'm just like, no, please don't.
I don't want to lose. No, Komet is fine.
I think we'd have both, fine. But
I know, but Komet's fine.
Komet is fine.
We don't need Pitts.
Yeah, we'll ask our guest as well when he jumps on what he thinks here, because he is here, but we're gonna make him keep sweating it out just a little bit longer. But yeah, spoiler alert: we have a guest. We have Dave, a.k.a. DynastyDorks, coming on, bringing some expertise. So excited about that. And we're going to be talking 2023 rookies. So these are not the guys that are entering the draft this year. These are the guys from last year.
Just coming off of their rookie season.
Yeah.
And what that means for you, dynasty, or not necessarily even just in your dynasty leagues or your keeper leagues, but even just looking to the draft for those who are thinking they're going to be targeting some of these players.
Yeah. No doubt. Because you hear a lot about the sophomore slump. And so I'm eager to pick his brain if he thinks there's going to be a little sophomore slump for either of these guys, if they're going to stay consistent. Some of them, I can only see them getting better because they didn't have very good freshman years or rookie years, I guess. So be interesting to see. Just want to keep flashing Brian Scott's comment on there. Brian is a legend. If you don't know who Brian Scott is, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, go to YouTube and look up some of his game tape because it's amazing. The USFL, the XFL, spring football, and now the Toronto Argonaut, Brian Scott. So pretty exciting stuff there. Real quick, I kind of breezed over this, but we're talking whiskey. I have an old fashioned with the pot still bourbon.
So, and you know how I am with glasses. So you made mine with the rye.
Yes. And you
I wasn't offered that glass.
It's the only one we got. I had already picked it for myself.
You're like, do you want an old fashioned in this glass? No. Glasses are a mood for me, though. You know how much they're a mood.
I was naming the ones you normally pick, though. Did you realize that? I did the gold rim, the small whiskey, the balloon.
We're not going to argue over glasses. But anyway, I haven't even gotten to try it. And you made mine with the rye. He did not want to make mine with the Balcones rye because
I'm running out.
Yes. And if you go back and listen to our interview earlier this week with Alex, the rye that we have, they're no longer making. They have switched over to a different mash bill.
Yes.
Using their native rye.
Yeah, the
right?
Texas grain rye. Yeah.
A 91%. They're going from isn't this like 80?
I don't remember.
Well, they're going up to 91%. So it's going to change. And I know you're a huge fan of this, right? And you're like, I don't want to make two old fashions with this.
I think I like it straight because you get more of the
but
uniqueness.
It makes an old fashioned. It really stands out.
Yeah,
that
it does.
Oh, that rye is so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Juke. Cheers. What's up, man? How's Denver treating you? Or Colorado, anyways. I don't know if you're in Denver. I just know Colorado. Brian Scott's, again, 2 legends, even though we're calling him the legend. Hey, speaking of Brian Scott, I'll tell you, there's a guy that first told me about Brian Scott, and he has the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, Rod Villagomez. Rev up those engines because NASCAR is back. Check out the NASCAR Gambling Podcast because Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb got you covered all things NASCAR and racing. From trucks to Cup, IndyCar to F1, this show gives you the drivers to watch and the most profitable picks for the weekend of racing. Trust me, they make a lot of good picks that'll make you money. Just enter their free Daytona 500 contest for a chance to win a $100 SGPN gift card and $100 cash. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NBA, NHL, and college basketball. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. You can win 100 times with some spicy picks. And right now is a great time to get over there and do some best ball drafts. Watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's the Underdog Fantasy promo code OFF SGPN. I think I said it wrong the first time. Promo code OFF SGPN.
Don't forget that OFF.
That's right. All right. Let's bring in our guest here. You can find him at DynastyDorks. If you've been a fan of the SGP, you know this guy. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing well. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. Now, put you on the spot here. Do you like whiskey?
Not really a whiskey guy.
Off the show. No, I'm just kidding. That is quite all right. Hey, Nick Fortune checked in, and I want to get your opinion on this. He was asking about the coaching changes to the Falcons. Do you think that's going to change things for Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think things could get any worse for Kyle Pitts.
He can't go worse. He can't go downhill.
Yeah.
So when you look at the way Arthur Smith is just using this offense, you're looking at someone that is trying to drain the clock and is trying to run the ball, and it's just not good for any passing attack. And, Kyle Pitts isn't really known for his blocking. He's known for his receiving ability. He also, banged up last year with a little bit of a knee injury that hurt him all year.
Yeah, for sure. And Brian Scott saying Thursdays. We're going to talk about 2023 rookies. As we said, going into 2024, we brought you in because of your dynasty expertise. But like Miranda said, this can be redraft. It can be auction. We have a lot of keeper contract type leagues. So considering all that, but before we do, I'm curious, I don't know if I've ever asked you this. What fueled your passion for fantasy football? What started all that and got you just, I would say you're probably like me. You're obsessed with fantasy football, right? What started all that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always played fantasy football, and then when got out of college, and it was kind of all right. We no more playing rec league and playing with the boys. It was more try to find something different, and so it was a way we connected. And so that's how DynastyDorks got created. A couple of buddies of mine started our website and started writing. Now I just do stuff for SGPN now, but it was more of at first it was just a way to connect with people, but yeah, it's a game within a game that we love, and it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We have one league which had a little pause this year, but it's from people from college, and we mainly keep doing it just as a way to keep in touch because everybody's spread all out, and it's a great way to, even have an excuse to we have to get together to have our draft and all this type of stuff.
Yeah, when we started our first Dynasty League, the hope was to have an owners meeting every year, and we go out and do that. But then, all of us started having kids and stuff, and
right.
So it's more of a Zoom hangout than a big trip, but it's still fun.
Yeah, for sure. Should we jump right into quarterbacks?
Well, yeah, I can.
Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I can kick us off here. I'm going to start with CJ Stroud. He did finish as QB11.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they could improve their run game to to help him. Some potential changes on that team. I know Dalton Schultz, he's going to be a free agent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess, okay, fine. I'll let you. I can see you've got this.
My only concern is he had an amazing year. Can he repeat that? So I'll flip that over to you. Do you think he repeats that, or is there a little bit of regression?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have somebody come out and put, just gaudy numbers up that are way above expectation, you're expecting them to come back to earth. It'll be the second year in this offense. They hope to retain Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, but they got some draft capital. They got Cleveland. They traded their first round pick to get Will Anderson, but they still got Cleveland's first round pick, and they beat Cleveland in the playoffs just to make that pick a little better. So, he right now in best ball, he's going off as QB6.
Wow.
And so the expectations are high. For me, you're buying him at a ceiling. He's going above Joe Burrow, above Dak Prescott, above Justin Herbert. He's pretty expensive. It's just best ball. It's not, that's not dynasty or a redraft, but it's a pretty good estimate that people have high expectations for CJ Stroud.
Yeah. We did a dynasty startup, and I think Stroud was the quarterback you took first, right?
Yeah.
It's a super flex. Yeah.
I expect it. I don't know. I don't see him. I don't know if as a team they're going to go as far as they went, but I don't know if I don't feel like I'm going to see him regress.
Yeah. Yeah. I even if he regresses, I can't see it being like a terrible season. He's not going to be a bad quarterback by any means. Speaking of bad quarterbacks, our next one, Bryce Young for the Panthers. Obviously they had high expectations. He finished QB 23, had a really rough year. They don't have a lot of draft picks to try to build around him. That's kind of a problem. But I feel like he can't get worse, right? I mean, he's got to trend up a little bit. What do you think, Mir?
I would imagine. I mean, but yeah, we got their number one pick.
Yeah.
The Bears have their number one pick. You're right. They don't have a lot, to get somebody different in the draft.
Right.
That
Build up
young
around
talent.
him. Yeah. What do you think here? Are you buying Bryce Young while he's low, or are you just staying away?
I mean, you might, because he's so cheap right now, but he's QB 29 in best ball. And so I'm out. I'm really concerned about just the environment that he's surrounded with. And, CJ Stroud, we didn't know what the environment looked like. We knew D'Amico Ryans was a stud, but we didn't know what, Bobby Slovic, we didn't know that was going to work out.
Yeah.
The offensive line was much better than expected. He's got a bad offensive line. He's got a terrible set of weapons. They got no draft capital and an owner that's like throwing drinks in people's faces. Like, who wants to go to that crap show right now? So it's going to be really hard to encourage people. I do like the coaching hire. I was a fan of Dave Canales. He did great work with Geno Smith, revitalizing his career. We saw Baker Mayfield bounce back. Dave Canales was the offensive coordinator and a big part of that. So I do like the quarterback hire. But Bryce Young just doesn't offer you a whole bunch of stuff with his legs. So there's not that, like an Anthony Richardson kind of a person. And then he doesn't have the weapons. So like, even if you get him, you're never going to feel comfortable starting. And like, honestly, even in Superflex, you can't feel comfortable starting Bryce Young anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. I know you probably got tired of me saying before the draft last year that Bryce Young was a bust. I was just so out on him because of the size. I didn't see a ton that jumped out at me, and I don't know if he's ever going to turn it around. He's not I would much rather take a flyer on a bunch of different guys before Bryce Young. But speaking of Bryce Young, you said that they don't have their first pick because the Bears do. We'll sidetrack just a little bit. What's your opinion? Take Caleb Williams or keep Justin Fields?
I think from a financial standpoint, when you're talking about a team build, it makes sense to trade Justin Fields. He did enough where you can get a little bit back for him, maybe a third-round pick or something like that. But you're going to have to either give him his fifth-year option or pay him next year, which, you're talking about, if you're an okay quarterback, you get $40 million.
Right.
Caleb Williams or whoever they pick at number one is going to be on a rookie contract for 4 years, fifth-year option. Then they can franchise tag him. So they're getting like 6 years of like cheap quarterback play. So even if Caleb Williams is just as good as Justin Fields and not any better, then he's going to be a cheaper option. They can build around him, spend on the offensive line, the defense. And then if he's better, which everyone kind of thinks he does and has the upside, you're having a low risk gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm so we're both big Justin Fields fans. Neither one of us want Caleb Williams.
We have to step away from being a fan for a minute.
Right. But yeah, well, in that I heard somebody kind of describe it as Justin Fields' ceiling. I mean, can you ever see him being higher than a Lamar Jackson? Probably not. Caleb Williams, I don't think he'll touch Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is proving to be one of the best to ever did it. But they're saying Caleb Williams ceiling Patrick Mahomes.
They're comparing him to
and if you're going to
Patrick
pick one
Mahomes.
of those guys, you're probably going to pick Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yeah, and they could trade back. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you trade back and build around Justin Fields or trade back a little bit and take one of the other guys. There's a lot of love in the streets for JJ McCarthy. I'm a fan, but I didn't realize that I'm not as big a fan as other people. I just saw a quote 2 seconds ago that said if he was allowed to throw the ball, then he would be Joe Burrow. I mean, it's crazy out there, the love. But it does sound like he's possibly going to be a top 10 pick. So if the Bears were to trade back a little bit and get, another first plus Drake May or plus, Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy, that could be another option.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if they took that route, they have the 9th, they have the 1st. I mean, they could get one of those top quarterbacks and maybe still get Marvin Harrison Jr., which would be crazy to line up with DJ Moore.
Yeah, they don't have a 2nd round pick, which also kind of bring Justin Fields in. If they traded the 2nd round pick for Montez Sweat, then they can go and trade Justin Fields for a 2nd and then try to get, a lineman.
Yeah. I'm still going to pound my chest for Fields and hope we keep him. Who do we want to talk about next for rookies?
I've got, Anthony Richardson with the Colts. He finished his QB 40, but there was a lot of, I know you were really high on him preseason. There was a lot of hype around him, but he ended up only playing 3 games.
3 full
games with his injury. I feel like obviously he would not have finished where he was had he been healthy. We don't know what that would have looked like, but what are your thoughts?
For me, health is the main thing. How about you?
Oh, health is the big thing. And I live in Indianapolis, so there's some hype around here for him, but I just love Shane Steichen. Coaching is a big deal to me, and I thought that was the fit. I would have loved CJ Stroud going there, but Anthony Richardson was a great fit. And in best ball right now, he's going as the 6th quarterback off the board ahead of Joe Burrow. And it's just like Gardner Minshew was a thing this year, and Gardner Minshew he's not really been a thing like that for fantasy. Like the system's really good and the situation's good. So I like Richardson.
Yeah. I mean, if he could stay healthy for the whole season, I think his potential is crazy when you add in I thought he might struggle a little bit in the passing, but like you said, it's a great system and he looked really good in it. And just then you add in his rushing ability and his ceiling is very high, in my opinion, for fantasy football, at least.
Yep.
Let's talk about the black banana eater, Will Levis for the Titans. Finished QB 33 after starting 8 games. I don't know if he did enough for me to really trust him a lot in a full season, but I got to imagine. I mean, they're fully turning the keys over to him. He's going to be their guy. What do you think of Levis? I know. Did you draft him in a league? I feel like you did. No? Maybe I drafted him in a league and felt bad about it. I don't know. What do you think about the banana eater? The mayonnaise and the coffee.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on the fence on this one.
Derrick Henry might be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think DeAndre Hopkins will be there, but if he's not, this is going to look like a completely different offense.
A completely different offense for the Titans. What
do you think? You like Will Levis? Dislike him?
I wasn't a big fan of Will Levis coming out. I just these older prospects that have a bunch of stuff they still need to work on is a problem. Like you're 24 years old, 23 years old, you've been playing college football for a long time and you still haven't fixed some stuff. And so that's the kind of, he holds the ball really long and it causes him to take some big shots and turnovers. He's going as QB 28, so there's not a lot of love on the streets for Will Levis. I do think they go and get him a tackle. Joe Alt out of Notre Dame or another one of the big tackles. They're at 7. I do think Derrick Henry's gone. It's going to be a different type of offense with the changes they made with the coaching staff. They did bring in Callahan from the Bengals, but they got to address that offensive line or he's got no shot. I like him better than I do Bryce Young. It's not saying much, but they got Traylon Burks. They got Chig. This is a draft that is full of wide receiver talent. And so they could, as long as they address that offensive line, he could be in a much better situation this year. And he runs a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about this last guy? Because I can't say his name.
Yeah, I do. And I wanted him here. I wanted to throw out, not a rookie, but I want to get your thoughts on Jordan Love. He did finish his QB5. Is he the real deal for the Packers?
Stock down. Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can they really get that lucky?
I know. I saw there was the Goodwill Hunting meme where he's like, the Packers are like drafting great quarterbacks is so easy. And I just keep watching the Bears screw it up.
Yeah.
And so Jordan Love's coming in at QB 11. So there is some love on the streets for him. It's not QB 5. I think that's a little unrealistic. We had so many QB injuries last year. It was just insane. And over 60 starting quarterbacks in the league. But the fact that he did it without like Christian Watson for most of the year, Jaden Reed came on at the end. Offensive line was banged up. Like there were so many excuses you could have made for this guy. And it got better as the year went on. The first few weeks, PFF had him as one of the lower graded quarterbacks under pressure. And then he finished as one of the best quarterbacks under pressure. He just got better as the year went on. And he had a whole bunch of rookies and things like that. Like imagine they went and got a T. Higgins. Imagine Christian Watson all year. Like I don't think he can finish higher than QB5. So like now I got killed on Reddit for saying this. Now's a good time to sell Jordan Love.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Yes.
I'm like, you not understand the principle of sell high, but okay. But like now is a good time to sell him, but I'm not moving him unless I get a good offer because I think he's the real deal.
I hope it was a fluke as a Bears fan. But...
well, obviously as a Bears fan, you would hope that, but I think he is the real deal. I do see it.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that you just mentioned. And unfortunately, exactly right.
We're going to talk about some running backs. And I said Juke had a comment on Denver. We're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do, Mur, do you want to tell people where they can get down on some NBA action?
Absolutely. You can get down on that on Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NBA season with Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NBA and soccer bet with historical stats and data. You can enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value.
Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame bets app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame bets. All right.
Justin, we have not had a guest on the show when we've gone through this before. I'm sitting over here like
waving your arms.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw that, Dave, but I apologize.
Oh, that's funny. Juke is located in Colorado. He's read a local article that Broncos have the picks to potentially trade up and move to the number 2 pick and draft Drake May. Hope it happens, but we'll see. I know we're talking rookies that are coming to sophomores, but do you think that'd be a good move for Denver?
Be a great move. I don't think it's feasible. I don't know if they actually have the picks for that. They have to make a pretty big move to do that. And DraftTech.com has a great trade chart to kind of give you an idea how to concoct some trades. It would cost them several first-round picks because of how far they have to go. And I don't believe they have a second-round pick. I was trying to look that up real quick. So it's a stretch. I think they're more in the J.J. McCarthy market where they can, try to hop up to the, top 10, maybe call the Bears, see about the 9 spot, try to get the top 10, get J.J. McCarthy. The other options would be Bo Nix or Michael Penix.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Penix to him. I think it would be a decent fit for him, and I think he's got a lot of potential. But let's kick on to running backs. Do you want to start us off here?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Bijan Robinson. I didn't want to buy into all the hype around him, but he did finish pretty good. He was a top 10 running back ending the season. The Falcons, they do have some new coaching staff that I think could be better for him.
I mean, I think anybody's an upgrade over Arthur Smith, to be honest. I think Arthur Smith was terrible at utilizing talent. And we saw games where he didn't give Bijan the ball at all. They went with Tyler. And he's good, don't get me wrong, but when you got a guy like Bijan, you have to give him more than 3-4 carries we saw in some of those games. Dave, can he get better than, I think in half PPR, it was RB9. Can he get better than that?
Yeah, I mean, Bijan Robinson has RB1 overall potential. He's not only one of the best running backs as far as a rushing standpoint, but he's one of the best passing down, receiving running backs in the league. So it just takes on how they use them. And, it's hard. There's very few guys that get the Saquon Barkley type of workload. And we see that. We all want it, but then they get like injured and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, maybe I just calm down a little bit. So, I mean, even if he gets, 15 carries, but he's getting 5 targets, that's what you're looking for. If he can get anything more than that, even better. But he's just a big play guy, and he had some awesome highlights. And from RB9 as a rookie, still pretty dang good.
True. Yeah.
On a bad offense.
Yeah. Yeah. With a bad coach and everything. I agree. You want to talk about the next guy too? Because I know this was your guy.
Yes, JMark Gibbs. He also came in right behind Bijan Robinson in half PPR at RB10. And he's still going to be splitting time with Monty, but I still see him being a really big part of that Lions offense.
Yeah. And maybe even a little more involved.
I don't know that I see him going higher. I don't think, you know what I mean?
RB10 is the ceiling?
I don't know. But I don't know if I see him going higher than that.
Yeah. Well, especially if Monty's around kind of sniping those touchdowns at the goal line. What do you think about Gibbs?
Yeah, I mean, both of these running backs are running behind great offensive lines. The difference here is that the Detroit Lions are an actually good offense. And I like the usage. Brad and I went back and forth on this one a lot last offseason. And, we finally saw it the second half of the season where Gibbs was used more, not only in the passing game, but more of a runner. And so he's another guy that could have an Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones kind of a career arc where he always has someone with him. And that's fine. I mean, those guys have had great careers, been great for fantasy football, and they can exist. Right now in best ball, Bijan's RB3 and Gibbs is RB4. So people are very excited, going ahead of Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, Saquon Barkley, and Travis Etienne.
Wow. I get the Bijan love there, but that seems a little high for Gibbs to me.
Do you think, so I know, Monty had he dealt with injuries. If he's healthy all this season, do you think that's going to cut in?
I could see it either way. I mean, I could see the workload staying the same or them pulling back a little bit more on Monty and handing it over more to Gibbs. What are your thoughts there? Do you think they keep kind of the same balance?
Yeah, I mean, this is the same coaching staff that was around for the Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara days. And so I don't think that's going to go away. They paid Montgomery decently, and he's under contract for at least this year. So I don't think it's going to go away. I think they're going to try to save Gibbs like they did. And there was times where he hit over 20 touches, but typically he was in the 15 to 18 range, and it was plenty good for fantasy. But, yeah, I mean, there's not much more higher you can go than RB4.
Yeah, true. Let's talk about Zach Charbonnet a little
Mhm.
bit of the Seahawks, because it seemed like everybody was excited about him going into last year. I saw him get drafted pretty high, especially even our auction leagues, going over $20 in a $200 budget. And it confused me a little bit because obviously Walker is a supreme back. I mean, he's a really good guy and he's young still. I think he's still going to be young, but Charbonnet finished RB 47. You got to imagine he gets better than that. Do you think they're going to balance that workload a little bit more, or do you think this is still Walker's backfield?
I think it's still Walker's backfield.
Yeah.
Seattle was like, that was the most fun team to do your like mock drafts on PFF with, because they just had like so many picks.
Yeah.
And like they gave him very high draft capital, and that's what everybody like was like very confident in him because of that. He did miss some preseason due to an injury, and that kind of slowed him down. But Ken Walker was hurt a lot of the season last year. He had a core injury, and Charbonnet had 1 or 2 good games, but yeah, at his current cost, no thanks. I mean, he's just too high.
Yep, agreed. You want to talk about the next guy who we gave out? I know in our family league, my dad was happy we gave him out as a waiver wire because he picked him up and then had the high score of the league the next week.
Yes. Devin Achan with the Dolphins. He finished RB 24. He only played 11 games.
Yep.
And still finished there. But I don't know. He's speedy. He's talented. If he can stay healthy, what do you see for him? Yeah, I mean, that's a fast offense that he fits well. It's the health, because he's not as big of a guy. What do you think, Dave? You like Devon Achan, or are you passing on him?
It all comes down to cost. I'm probably passing because of the cost. Right now, he's going as RB7. And so
that seems high.
Very high. Yeah.
And so he put up 100 points in 4 weeks. I mean, this dude is unreal. But he also, not that he had a huge injury history in college, and like people forget, he played in the SEC, he ran between the tackles, and he had 1 2-week injury with a foot injury. But he got injured in preseason. He got injured, came back for like 3 plays, and then it was tough. And he is small. When Raheem Mostert is still there, and Raheem Mostert's going at RB 27. And so I just feel like there's so many guys that I'd much rather take at the cost. If the price is right, but he's just RB7 is a lot.
It's high, and especially when you can get Mostert at 27. I feel like that's
Mostert
better
was,
value.
Auction wise, Mostert was one of the best valued running backs you could find. He went for $1 in most leagues, and finished as a top 5 depending on your formats. So I agree, he's still there and still going to be a thing. Let's talk about the Bears running back that I got a lot of shit for people for being down on him, for saying he's not going to be like this top fantasy guy right away, because they had Khalil Herbert, they had Foreman, they have Justin Fields. Now potentially they won't have any of those guys. So Roschon Johnson could have a bigger role. He finished his RB 49. What are your thoughts on Roschon?
Yeah, I had gotten a couple of questions about why. I thought I was pretty high on Roschon, but apparently like not high enough. I'm like, I have like RB7. I liked him. I liked the landing spot. I do believe Herbert has 1 more year. Foreman, I think, is out of town, but you didn't see it. And, there were flashes where he looked really good, and it was the 4th quarter and the Bears were down by a lot. And it was like other team has backups in, and Roschon looks great playing against the 2nd string defense.
All right.
And then next week we go right back to, he gets 2 touches between the first 3 quarters. That tells me the coaching staff didn't like him. It's a whole new coaching staff. Maybe the new scheme fits him better. But for me, like, there's just, and I don't think he's safe. I mean, he's a day 3 running back. You could easily see the Bears go and take a running back this year. Yeah. And have better draft capital than him and take him and Herbert's job.
Yeah. And they are pretty notorious for either the 4th, 5th round. They almost always draft a running back. So it's very possible. You want to talk about the guy that might become a starting running back? this next year.
Yeah, Tyjae Spears. He finished RB35 behind Derrick Henry. With Henry gone, yeah, that leaves Spears.
Yeah. Yep. And I thought he looked good. He started taking some more workload towards the end of the season there. He's not a Derrick Henry guy. He's not the same as Derrick Henry, but he is a talented running back. What are your thoughts on Spears?
Yeah, I mean, Spears looks awesome. I'm hoping that the price stays where it's at right now. Is RB18 in best ball. Every sleeper article, including mine, has Tyjae Spears as the lead cover guy. He is not a sleeper. He's not a sleeper. I mean, everyone knows it's coming. He got a round 3 draft capital, so I think he's safer than Roshan. And he passed the eye test. He looked good. He did a great job when he was there. And if they make improvements to this offensive line, I like him. And he also has a little bit of a pass catching skill set that is really, unless you're in a standard league, is really, really good for fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. He's somebody like in our auction leagues that I did target him towards the end of the year last year so I can contract him. But in the ones he's not contracted, that's somebody that I think people are probably going to get in a bit of a bidding war over, because they know, like, oh, Henry's gone and look what Henry did. And they're going to be kind of enamored with the fact that Henry has been such a force to be reckoned with. Not the same as Henry, but still, I think he has a lot of upside. Another guy that a lot of people were in love with, I wasn't sure because he plays behind Travis Etienne, who's a really good running back, but Tank Bigsby finished RB86. I mean, he didn't do much this year. I think he'll probably have some more impact. They should be keeping Etienne healthier, in my opinion, limiting him a little bit more. But what are your thoughts on Tank Bigsby?
Yeah, I mean, Bigsby he's not a pass catcher. And so that already makes him like unavailable on certain parts of the game. Last year when Etienne got hurt, Dearness Johnson got the role. And so that's just really not a good sign for Tank Bigsby. I think he's a good player and a good running back. I just, I don't necessarily think he's going to be great for fantasy. And so I think, what was it, RB87 you said?
86. Yep.
Yeah, he can probably beat that. But I don't have him inside my top 50. And I gotta keep scrolling to find out where he's been drafted, so I'll tell you later.
That tells you everything.
Yeah, there you go. You want to talk about the guy?
Chase.
Yeah.
Well, what am I going to talk about? What guy?
The guy that I wanted to land on the Bears. I was going to say
Chase Brown.
Yep.
Yeah, he finished RB63 behind Mixon. There are will Mixon still be there?
Yeah, there's rumors he won't be. I don't know.
Yep. And then I do know for Chase Brown, Colby Dant called him the best running back of the class behind Bijan.
Yeah, I remember that when we had him on talking prospects. This was a guy he was really high on.
Creative player.
That was Richardson.
No, that was Richardson.
Yeah, but he was really high on Chase Brown. He was really high on
Chase Brown too.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with Mixon. What are your thoughts on Chase Brown?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Mixon is potentially out of the picture. I just saw something flash on my phone about Mixon is refuting some of the rumors that he's going to be out of town, but they're going to have to find a way to save some money. And Joe Mixon's, I think he's a $6 million cap hit. They're probably going to franchise tag T. Higgins. They have to address the offensive line, or Joe Burrow is going to get hurt again. And they have to think about starting to pay Chase. So Chase Brown, it looks great. But another guy, I don't think anybody that's got third round draft day 3 draft capital is safe. And you could see, and this is a talented class of running backs. There's no Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, so people think it just stinks. But there's a whole bunch of guys that probably would be rated higher than a Chase Brown. And so you could see a Blake Corum, you could see a Braylon Allen, you could see a Trey Benson or Jonathan Brooks. And so he's RB32 and underdog, so people are a little interested. But I like him. And if he gets the job, I think he'll be good. But I'm just cautious about it because I don't know what the Bengals are going to do.
Yeah, agreed. Blake Corum, I keep wondering if Austin Eckler is out at the Chargers there, and Jim Harbaugh brings in his guy, Blake Corum, as the running back. Even if it's a reach in the draft, I could see him doing it because it's Jim Harbaugh, and he kind of has that mentality of he's going to do what he wants. We're going to switch over to wide receivers here, but shout out to Brian Scott cooking up a whiskey sour. Not every day does a professional quarterback let you know what they're having to drink. So
he's doing Thirsty Thursday right.
He's doing Thirsty Thursday right. We had some whiskey sours for the Super Bowl that you made, the Chiefs sour, and then just the Super Bowl one, which you also. Oh, the Swifty sour was also the Chiefs sour. Is that right?
I said we could call it a Chiefs sour, or we could call it a Swifty sour for all us T-Swift fans.
Yes. Let's switch over to wide receivers. You want to talk about the most obvious guy that stood out?
Puka
Puka
Nacua for the Rams, finished as wide receiver 4. With this one, like, can Stafford stay healthy? I think is a big question.
Yeah,
with
agreed.
This duo there.
Yeah, and Puka finished as wide receiver 4. As good as Puka is, as good as that offense is, I don't know if he can finish as wide receiver 4 again, but I do think he's still going to be very valuable. That's another guy where if the trade offer is right, I would understand moving on him because I think he's probably at his peak. I don't think he's going to get better than 4. It would have to be a lot. You're like, you think I'm crazy.
No. You're gonna get rid of who are you gonna
what kind
of offer are you gonna
it'd have to be
get
a good
for
one.
Getting rid of Puka?
It'd have to be a good one. What are your thoughts on Puka?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I got a couple I just took over an orphan and it's got Puka on it, and I got a couple offers already. He's coming off the board as wide receiver 6 in best ball, so a little bit lower. What I really was impressed was when we all expected when Cooper Kupp came back that Puka was going to go away.
Yeah.
And he didn't. No.
Yeah.
And, one of the things with the rookie wall as well, like you see these rookies that do really well the first half of the year. The NFL season is a lot longer than the college football season.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept going. And then in the postseason, he looked great. And so it's just, and he did it in a lot of different ways. This wasn't a guy that caught 40 balls and had, 13 touchdowns. He caught volume.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to make big plays down the field with yards, and then he was able to put it in the end zone, So, like, he was the perfect package, and you got him. I had a team where the first week of I blew all my fab on Kyron Williams and Puka, and I won the league. I mean, that definitely made my team a lot better.
For sure.
And, Puka's, he's just, again, one of those guys. I thought the consistency was what did it for me, that like this guy's going to be a real deal.
Yeah. Agreed. So you said he's going at 6 in best ball right now?
6.
But
behind him is A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr. is wide receiver 11.
Interesting.
Rasheed Rice, and then Brandon Ayuk.
Interesting. I agree. And like what you said about with Kupp coming back, I expected Puka to kind of take a back seat. In the FFPC lineups for the playoffs, you took Puka, and I got cute, and I was like, nah, Kupp's the vet. He's the guy that's going to have the good playoffs. Did not work out in my favor.
Finish.
This is why your teams beat mine for sure. Let's talk about Jordan Addison.
Yes.
Finished as wide receiver 21 on the Vikings. Looked really good. I was really impressed with how he looked, especially, Justin Jefferson got hurt and the defense then could focus on Addison a little bit more. Didn't seem to matter. The big thing there, I mean, he found success even with Cousins hurt, and Dobbs had some success here, but we don't know who the quarterback necessarily is going to be. That makes me a little nervous about him. What do you, I'll turn it to you first.
I'm kind of in the same boat there. Like, I'm a little nervous, like, because of their quarterback situation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he's got talent.
Yeah. And wide receiver 21, if that's around where he's getting drafted this year, it's wide receiver 2.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see it. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, he's coming off the board as wide receiver 32. And people are a little lower on him than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Addison was one of my favorite players coming out, and I got completely beat up whenever I said I would, I said I have no problem taking him over JSN. So I, every time he scored a touchdown, I went and, liked some of those comments on that. Just reminded people what they said. This guy did it with 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And Dobbs literally got off the plane and started throwing the football. Like, they didn't even practice together, and he had like 120 yards. So I love wide receivers that can separate. And so, this isn't a guy that is a big dude. He's not DK Metcalf. He's very much more like Tyler Lockett, but he can separate, and he's going to be good no matter who the quarterback is, because he can get open. He can beat man coverage. He knows how to sit in zone. He was a very good wide receiver for Kenny Pickett back in Pittsburgh, had over 20 touchdowns. Went to USC, had a down year because USC had 4 or 5 different options. But yeah, and I think Kirk Cousins comes back. It sounds like they could draft a backup plan, but it sounds like all plans are for Cousins to be back.
Yeah. Probably my best, I guess, dynasty draft moment for a rookie draft. I was sitting, I think at 6, and I wanted Jordan Addison, and I knew the guy behind me wanted Quentin Johnston. So I let him know, like, I'm thinking about drafting Quentin here, but wait, make me an offer. And I don't even remember what I got, but I got some draft capital and a running back, I think A.J. Dillon, which didn't pan out how I'd hoped, but to move back the one spot and then get my guy anyways. And then looking at Quentin Johnston's season this year, it made me even happier. I'm like, I'm a genius. Probably lucked out a little bit there, but let's flip to him really quick. Quentin Johnston of the Chargers, new coaching staff, but he looked bad. I mean, he dropped balls.
Wide receiver 75.
Yeah, wide receiver 75 just looked bad. Is he going to bounce back, or is he more of a bust? Do you think he's a bust?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the exact number, but there's definitely a stat out there about, I think, 625 yards. Like, you want rookies to hit that mark. Not too long ago, rookie receivers were not a thing in fantasy. I mean, there was like 4 wide receiver ones in like the last 2 decades. All of a sudden, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb showed up and was like, this is easy.
Yeah.
It's usually not, but Quentin Johnston made it look very hard. And so I'm out on Quentin Johnston. Yeah. Sorry.
Same.
I'm going to talk about Tank Dell next. He came in wide receiver 38, but he was injured. He missed 7 games, I think. And I like this Texans offense, and it's just like Stroud. I think Tank Dell is going to trend up, especially if he can stay healthy all season. I think he's going to go. Tank. I was, but maybe that's just optimism, but I see him finishing higher.
Yeah, no, I was surprised, I guess, because he's not one of the guys that was drafted high and you thought, oh, this guy's going to be really good right away. But he looked really good almost immediately. It's like him and Stroud just had this connection. And I think, if he can stay healthy, that he's definitely going to trend upwards. They do have a lot of options with Nico if Nico comes back. I mean, but I still think he's going to be relevant. What do you think about Tank?
Yeah, I'll admit I was wrong on Tank. As far as if you watch the league, being a height supremacist, I think we all need to look a little bit differently at these receivers. You look at Jordan Addison. He's there. All the BMI talk about him. Tank Dell. I mean, there's not many Tank Dells that go out and do this. That was my whole thing of like, there's not many good fantasy options that are his size. Underdog, they got him at 18 on the best ball board. People love Tank Dell, and it's hard to not love Tank Dell. CJ Stroud's a big fan. He told them to go grab him, and they did. And him and Nico Collins seem to be able to coexist and both be good at fantasy. So that gives me optimism for Stroud and for Dell.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Zay Flowers a little bit on the Ravens. With the Ravens, I mean, they said they were going to pass more. They still ran a lot. They led the league in rushing. But I think Zay Flowers is a special talent that can help the Ravens as a whole, if that makes sense. I think he makes them better, whereas they don't just have to run it because they have some good pass catchers, not just named Mark Andrews. And but it's just Lamar Jackson. I know he just won MVP. I know he's great in fantasy, but he always scares me because it's like sometimes he looks brilliant, sometimes he looks terrible, and it's like, what is he doing? So that might affect Zay Flowers, but I do still think he's a really good wide receiver. What are your thoughts on Zay?
Yeah, Zay was one of my guys. That's one of the guys I really like coming out. And Brad gave me the exact scenario of like, all right, that's your guy. And no matter what landing spot, you're going to go with him. And I was like, talent over landing spot. He's like, all right, if he goes to Baltimore or New England. And I'm like, And so he went to Baltimore. And they didn't pass the ball a whole lot more, but their offense was definitely different. It was a lot more fast-paced offense, and they ran more plays.
Yeah,
And so, Greg Roman, he is now the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. They're a slow, curmudgeon-y offense, and so that's something to look forward to for that. But as far as Zay Flowers, I like the volume he got. He was clearly the number one option right off the bat. I know Mark Andrews is there. OBJ is reportedly going to retire, may not return. Rashad Bateman kind of became a thing at the end of the year. But I just like Zay Flowers. He was the alpha. And I know that he had that whole taunting and stuff at the end of the game, but he was their go-to guy in that game against the Chiefs.
Yeah. Is there any concern? I mean, when Rashad Bateman first joined Baltimore, when they got him, he seemed to be like, oh, this is a guy that's going to have a good career. And then he kind of was really hit and miss. Do you have any concern that happens with Flowers or not so much?
No. And Bateman was kind of derailed a little bit with injuries and things like that, but Flowers was much more successful. He's got a lot more on his resume than Bateman has already.
Yeah, true. All right. You want to talk about your guy?
Rashee Rice, wide receiver for the Chiefs. I stayed away from the wide receivers on the Chiefs this year. Last year,
you got burned. Oh,
I did.
You had all of them.
I did in one of my leagues, and I don't know what I was thinking. There's just too many options. Mahomes can make it work with anybody. He did come in at wide receiver 27, and especially I feel like towards the end of the season, we started seeing that chemistry between Mahomes and Rashee, and I don't know, I could be persuaded to maybe take a gamble again.
So Travis Kelce did say he's coming back. Whether he changes his mind, I don't know, but he did say he's coming back. My concern would be what's the Chiefs offense look like, and what's the coverage towards Rice look like if he doesn't, and if he is gone, because I think Travis Kelce commands so much attention from the defense, but it's Mahomes.
They're on fire.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Rashee?
Yeah, he was another guy that was just a great value, and like people that reached for him because he went to the Chiefs. Maybe it was the same people that reached for Sky Moore finally got redemption. It worked out, and he was really good. I think the only concern would be what do they bring, this offseason? MVS could be out of town. They could bring in some other options. I don't think they can afford a T. Higgins or a Mike Evans or something like that. But they could bring in some options in the draft. But he's going our wide receiver 12, so he's someone that I really like. But man,
that's
he's going above Ayuk, above Debo, above Devontae, above Diggs, above Olave, and above Tank Dell, Michael Pittman.
Wow, that's too high for me.
It does seem high, especially. I need to pull more trending together on the Chiefs wide receivers for fantasy, just because there's so many options.
Yeah,
and I don't always think that we don't always see the fantasy points come in.
Right. Yeah,
those wide receivers.
Yeah, it does. I mean, to me, that's one of the downfalls of sometimes you draft wide receivers because their quarterback's great. But Patrick Mahomes is so good that he does spread the ball around a ton. You saw, I think it was last year in 2022, he had some of the most passing yards in the league, but none of the receivers necessarily were top guys aside from Travis Kelce. So, and that's just his ability to pass it around, I guess. Let's switch to JSN on the Seahawks. Finished as wide receiver 48. He did compete with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett for snaps. He's a really interesting guy in the fact that a lot of people drafted him and expected him to kind of, I don't know if put up necessarily Tyler Lockett numbers or better right away, but they expected a lot of big things. I saw him go for, especially in our auction leagues, he went for crazy value. And it being wide receiver 48, that didn't necessarily pay off. What are your thoughts on JSN?
Yeah, it's going off the board as wide receiver 36, so he's not necessarily super cheap, but he's someone I'm definitely buying low in dynasty leagues. He's a talented player, and the problem was he got put behind not one but two good receivers.
Yeah.
And so some of these guys had clear paths, and he didn't. And so when they missed, the other guy was there. And so the only time he got 10-plus targets, he was a wide receiver 1. And so, I mean, this guy is good. He just needs to get a more clear path. And Tyler Lockett looks like he could be the guy out. They've already paid DK. And so JSN could be the future there. And he's a guy I'm very interested in.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of JSN, in April, we are doing a giveaway and we will have a signed JSN jersey. So make sure y'all come back for that. Especially all those people that spent so much auction dollars on him in our leagues and didn't pay off for him in there. At least maybe you can win a jersey. Let's talk about Jaden Reed for the Packers. We talked about Jordan Love and how well he did. And Jaden Reed was one of the benefactors of Love doing well, but also helped Love do well. Finishes wide receiver 23. The Packers offense seems to like it actually has a lot of options. When you think about all their young receivers, but he seemed to be the guy that stepped forward and became the guy.
He did.
Now, I'm terrible about taking Packers players. Would you take Jaden Reed?
I think I would take Jaden Reed. I mean, coming in as a rookie this season and the chemistry he's building with Love.
Yeah. It's going to keep going.
I do. I think that's only going to improve.
Yeah.
Especially if Jordan Love is the real deal there.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to benefit from that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Jaden Reed?
Yeah, I'm a big Jaden Reed guy. I think he's my second most rostered dynasty asset. He just at end of the second round last year, I was just every time. I was a big fan, and I know that he just was on a really, really bad offense, but I really believed in the talent, and you saw it. Great rookie year, and it was not as good as Puka, of course, but from an average standpoint, it was a good year. And I think that, this guy can develop even more. I like how they design touches for this guy. Very much Debo Samuel. I think Field Yates called him the Wisconsin Debo. They use him in the jet sweeps. They use him in bubble screens. They find ways to get him the ball. And that's what I really like about Jaden Reed. It's not a guy that you're like, okay, well, he's going to get no touches. No, like they find a way to get him touches. And so, and he's a pretty consistent producer.
Yeah, for sure. Now, correct me if I'm remembering wrong, but you're a Giants fan, right?
I am a Giants fan.
All right. So we have to throw this guy on there. Didn't do much this year, but Jalen Hyatt finished wide receiver 98. A lot of question marks around the Giants and what they're going to do, what they're even going to look like moving forward. It sounds like Barkley could be out. I think Dan Jones is still their guy, and we've both been high on Dan Jones for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he got injured this year, but what do you think about Jalen Hyatt? I mean, obviously wide receiver 98, you would think he could only go up, but is he going to be a fantasy asset or just kind of he's on the waivers when I have a bunch of bye weeks and I'm going to pick him up?
Yeah, I mean, they're likely going to draft a receiver in the first round, whether it's Malik Neighbors or Ramadunze, and he's already going to go down the depth chart. He is more of a best ball guy because he's not going to get a lot of targets, but he is going to get the high volume, deep targets. I'm more interested in like a Wan'Dale Robinson than a Jalen Hyatt, but Jalen Hyatt, I'm not interested in for fantasy purposes.
Yeah. I had some high hopes for him, but obviously did not pan out.
Yeah, I did too. I thought, man, this guy's going to open up this offense, but when you can't block anybody, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mentioned our jersey giveaway of JSN. We also got a Darren Waller one coming up for Giants fans. I know you'll have to fight Kramer for that one because he gave me the eyes with it. But but yeah, we got Darren Waller. Speaking of tight ends, let's switch over.
Yeah.
I've dubbed you the tight end expert because you always seem to be on the tight end, like call them very correctly, starting with the number one tight end in the league, who you were
Sam
all
Laporta.
over.
I grabbed him in every single league that I possibly could. And he did. He finished tight end 1 this season. I didn't see him finishing. I saw him as a future tight end 1. The
You
talent
did say
is
in
there.
a year or two.
I didn't know it was going to be so quickly. I think, I don't know. I like what the Lions offense is doing and the way they're utilizing him. He's consistent.
Yeah.
To me, he's going to be still, if I hadn't already had him in my keeper leagues, I would be targeting him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree. I mean, Iowa tight ends, they tend to be great. He filled in right where TJ Hawkinson kind of left when they
Mhm.
traded him away last year. And Laporta, I think he could be even better. What are your thoughts on Sam Laporta?
Yeah, I mean, Laporta was great. I think the only concern with him is that he had his touchdown heavy on his production.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you didn't see a whole lot of games where he had over 50 yards. And so you're going to see some regression in the touchdown department, but are you going to see that bounce back as far as the yardage? And, he got more involved as the season went on. He didn't start off right off the bat hot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But, Sam Laporta's not coming off the field. He's an Iowa tight end, so he knows how to block,
Yeah.
which on the field all the time. And this team, as of now, doesn't have a second option outside of him and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, I think he's a perfect fit in this offense. And I think that, I think he's going to be a stud. He's going as tight end 1. So you're getting no discount at all.
No.
And so you're literally buying him at peak value, and you're going to have to. So,
Mhm.
last year at the combine, I got to shoot the first question off for Sam Laporta. So he's got he answered my question first. So he's got a little extra love from me.
I love that.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Probably puts you in a bit of predicament because you're a Sam Laporta lover, but you're also a Travis Kelce lover. If it comes down to it, which are you taking first?
I am taking Laporta value.
Laporta. Okay.
Long-term value.
Well, even if let's say it's redraft, you still taking Laporta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I am.
How about you? Redraft taking Laporta?
I don't know. I may fall back and get Mark Andrews a couple rounds later at this price. But yeah, if I had to choose Laporta or Kelce, redraft Kelce, obviously in Dynasty, Laporta's the number 1.
Yeah, got it. This is probably the only other, really, if you look at it, the other rookie tight end that made an impact, Dalton Kincaid for the Bills. I didn't think he would have an impact right away because of Dawson Knox, but Knox is a guy that while he seems to contribute to the team, he doesn't seem to take away or contribute enough fantasy-wise. Dalton Kincaid finished tight end 12, especially with Knox dealing with injuries. I think he could move up from this because it's a high, fast-moving offense. They pass it a lot. Josh Allen is crazy, and he likes throwing to the tight ends. So I think Kincaid could go up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love Kincaid. When it comes down to it, Diggs could be out of town. This could be a whole different looking offense next year. But Kincaid offers you, and everyone talking about Brock Bowers' size. By the way, both Sam Laporta and Kincaid are under 6'4", so like you're okay.
Yeah.
And Kincaid, 12 tight end 12. Like how many rookie tight ends have been top 12 in the last 12 years?
Yeah,
Kyle Pitts. Like that's it.
yeah.
And so like that was a really, really good year. It just was overshadowed by Sam Laporta. Kincaid is going to be a stud.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know if we need to spend a lot of time on the other guys. We got Michael Mayer, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and then Darnell Washington, which had a lot of hype, but he's more of a blocking guy.
Yeah, and I don't know if I see any of these guys being like super fantasy relevant. I'm a strong believer in your top like 5, 6 tight ends. You need to target one of them
Yeah.
to have the fantasy relevance. Because when we were breaking down the tight ends at the end of the season here, there's a big drop off in fantasy points after tight end. I think it was like tight end 5 this year.
4 or 5. Yeah, for sure. Any of those guys get you excited as far as fantasy next year?
No, I mean, it'd be nice to know what the Packers are going to do, because if you combine those two, like Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, that was a really good season.
True.
But if they're going to coexist and eat into each other's value, then it's hard. Michael Mayer, I think he could be more interesting moving forward. I was never in on Darnell Washington. If you watched any of our shows, I would told Brad, I mean, he is just an extra tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a massive dude, and he might catch a seam ball once or twice a year, but like he is a blocker. And he went and lost 25 pounds to go to the combine and run fast, and everyone was like, wow. I'm like, this guy played at like 287, 290. Like he's a lineman. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see, because if Tucker Kraft or Luke Musgrave was by themselves, we would all be very interested. But because they're together, we don't know who is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'd probably be more interested in Tucker Kraft. He's probably cheaper. But yeah, you're right. There really isn't anything else. But Michael Mayer is the guy that, might be interested in buying low.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, real quick before we get you out of here, let's do a little rapid fire. Of the rookies we talked about for quarterbacks, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, which one you taking first?
Stroud.
Same.
Absolutely.
For me, it's closer probably than it should be with Anthony Richardson because of his elite rushing ability. If he could stay healthy, I could see him putting up fantasy-wise as many points, but it's close. This one's probably really easy, but Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's Bijan for me, but it's not that easy. And then if we did get to look at it and there was a round difference or something, then give me Gibbs. They're really close.
How about you?
I'm leaning more towards Bijan.
I was a Bijan hater to start with. I'll stick on that train, but I don't like Gibbs either because he's a Lions. But yeah,
you can't do that.
I know. It sounds like from what you're saying, value wise, they're going pretty similar. So I think you have to go with Bijan, just because I think he's going to take more of the workload than he had last year, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs will kind of remain the same with Monty taking some of that. Wide receivers, I'm sure we'd probably all say Puka. So let's do Jordan Addison, or let's do Addison, Flowers, or Dell. Which one of you want to lead? I already know you're going to say Tank Dell.
I'm between Dell and Addison.
Addison. All right.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with that answer.
How about you?
Oh man, it's a really tough one. I'm gonna go with Addison on this one, but it's a tough one.
I'm gonna take Tank as well, just because I love CJ Stroud, and I think that they're gonna just keep rising together. And then I think we'll probably all say Sam Laporta for rookie tight or 2023 rookie tight ends. But
I do think Kincaid has some great value there.
Yeah, if you don't want to spend that,
if you don't
first
want
tight end
to,
spot, basically,
then I do think Kincaid is.
Yeah, I agree. Dave, thanks for joining us. Why don't you tell everybody what you're up to, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, if you're interested in 2024 rookies, I just put out a 5-round beast of an article. It's a 5-round Superflex rookie mock draft, and I put my rankings in there as well as some ADP to let you know kind of where the rookies are going. And check out my stuff on sportsgamblingpodcast.com.
Yeah, I can say personally, it is a really good article and a really good asset to have next to you while you're trying to learn all the rookies, especially not everybody watches college ball. So a lot of people, all these names are kind of new to them and they're like, who, so there's a lot of good info in there. I really enjoyed it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Just thank you so much for coming on the show with us and sharing some of your fantasy wisdom there.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back, especially to talk rookies. Dave is extremely knowledgeable when it comes to the rookies dynasty aspect of it.
Mhm.
And did you hear back on if your combine credentials got approved yet?
I actually checked before the show. It's pending still. So we're still waiting. I'm like, come on, man. It's in 2 weeks. So like,
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't got to book plane or anything. I just got to drive there. But like people that got to book planes and stuff, or if they're waiting, that's got to suck.
Well, fingers crossed, and make sure you give Dave a
Yes.
follow because that was awesome coverage last year. I love seeing just seeing the insight you got from watching everybody at the combine, the questions you got to ask. I mean, that was really, really cool. I was major jealous over here. She can testify to the
Yes.
fact it's like, oh, look at this. He's asking so and so a question.
Yeah, it was cool. Like the question I asked, like the most people was, what teams have you met with? And Laporta right off the bat was like, yeah, I've met with almost everybody. But as far as like I forget what they're called, but like the special meetings, like like teams only get like 30 guys that they can have like one-on-ones with, and Detroit, Miami were the first 2 that he mentioned. Then he ends up going there, and I talked to Charbonnet. Charbonnet says Seattle and New England, and he ends up going to Seattle.
Nice. That's awesome insight
Mhm.
for people that might do their rookie drafts before the draft takes place, because then they can kind of think, well, he might end up in one of these places, and then get an idea of
Mhm.
how they're going to fit in the offense and everything.
Yeah, there was a few, like with running backs. Every single running back said they met with the Saints. Every single running back said they met with the Titans. So I knew the Titans and the Saints. I thought the Eagles, because everyone said the Eagles, but then the DeAndre Swift thing happened, and then they didn't draft one. But like everybody, and then like I got to play HN off of Gibbs because they were next to each other in the podium. So I told
Nice.
Gibbs, I said, I just talked to Devon HN. He said he's the best receiving back in the class. What are your thoughts about that? And then just told the other guy the same thing. And then Gibbs talked about his interviews. I said, "Has any weird stuff happened that you didn't expect?" And he was like, "Yeah, like they made me play darts and ping pong, the Cowboys and the Eagles." And the Eagles made him shoot like baskets too. Like they did whatever it's called. But
That's interesting. Definitely sounds like a thing the Cowboys would do. Surprised me with the Eagles, but for some reason that just let's shoot darts. That just seems like the Cowboys. I don't know why.
Yeah, we asked him what do you think they were trying to do? He said maybe just to see if I was competitive.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. We
thank
super
you.
appreciate it. And make sure you check out all of Dave's stuff. It's all great content.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
Have a good
take
night.
it easy.
Have a good one.
Mer, did you have anything else you wanted to add? We're good to go.
I think we are good to go.
A lot of great info from Dave. Make sure you check out all his stuff. Go check that article out. Go check out the Balcones interview we did with Alex Elrod. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of fun with him.
Yeah. My old fashioned is gone. How's yours?
It's here, but it will be gone.
Going once, going twice.
Sold.